If you're looking for a fast, easy, and efficient way to build shelves, drawers, and doors for your cabinet boxes, then check this video out. In this part 2 of our cabinet build series, we're going to be going over edge banding for your shelves and how to build strong drawer boxes and shaker style panel doors. All right, so first thing up, we're going to do a little edge banding. We've already cut all of our shelves to size. Right here we have a roll of pre-glued maple. Edge banding is a great way to make your plywood look like nice hardwood, and it's relatively easy to do. So since it's pre-glued, all we have to do is iron it on and then trim it to fit. They make specific irons for this, but if you're on a budget and you don't want to spend a lot of money, this was like 15-20 bucks and it works just fine. Once you've got it ironed on and nice and flat, all that's left is to trim it. Now this next video clip is not of the shelves. I forgot to actually record the process of me doing that one, but it's the same concept. So this is a double-sided cutter that I bought off of Amazon. It works exceptionally well. I used to use just a regular razor blade, but this is much cleaner and efficient. And after you've trimmed the edges, I like to come back with a little 220 grit sandpaper and just buff the edges. All right, moving on. So here we're ripping our bottoms for our drawer boxes. There's a couple different ways of doing drawer boxes, but I do like to use 3/4 inch plywood for the bottoms. You can use 1/4 inch panels, but they're just not as durable, and I like my boxes to be nice and stout. And before all the experts start chiming in, this is only one way to build a box. I'll never do a video saying that this is the only way to build a drawer box, but this is an easy way to build a very strong box. Now that all the bottoms are cut, we're gonna go ahead and grab our material for our sides. Here we're grabbing a bunch of poplars since that's what we did for the face frames and the bulk of this project. As with any project, sometimes you're gonna have to kind of sift through the material. You don't want pieces like this right here for your drawer boxes. And while we're on this subject, always buy extra material. Inevitably, you're gonna have pieces that are gonna be warped and you're gonna need some more. For these drawer boxes, we're going to be doing some pocket holes to give these a little bit more strength. If you don't know how to use a pocket hole jig, I suggest you check out my video that I just did showing you how exactly to use these. Now, if you're doing pocket holes, you don't really have to use glue, but I like the additional strength that the glue provides. I also like to use some trim nails to tack my boxes together. Now, in the situation where you don't want any nail holes showing, you might just think about using clamps to hold it in place while you set your pocket screws. For our shallower drawer boxes, we're doing solid drawer fronts. I used to glue and trim nail these on, but it's much better just to screw these in place. This gives you a lot more flexibility if you need to adjust the drawer front or ever replace them. They're real easy to take off. Just as we did with our face frames for our cabinet boxes, we're going to take our natural colored wood putty and we're going to go ahead and touch up any of the joints, nail holes, or imperfections in the wood. For our bigger drawer boxes, we're going to be doing just like our cabinet doors, a shaker panel. So we're ripping our center panels right here. This is an A2 MDF core maple plywood. All of our center panels are cut now. We're going to be moving on to making our rails and our stiles. There's different ways of going about doing this. I like personally to use my table saw with my dado stack to rip all the mortises, and then I set up my router table with my tenon bit. For my mortise, I'm using 2 blades and 1 small spacer. The depth of your mortise will be depending on the tenon bit that you use, but for me right here, my depth is about 7/16 of an inch. If you're not really familiar with a dado stack, I'll be doing a video showing you how to set that up. So we've got our tenon bit set up on our router table now. I'm using this coping sled to lock these pieces in place as I run them through. This thing works miracles and gives me really good cuts, as you can see right here. Once you've got all your mortise and tenons done, now we're ready for the glue up portion. For the glue up portion, I'm using our Titebond 3 Ultimate Wood Glue. So we use the glue to set the rails and stiles. I also use some 5/8 trim nails just to tack those in place while the glue dries. Again, if you can't put any holes in the material and you can't use trim nails, then you can always use clamps to hold it in place while the glue dries. One hot topic that I would really like to go over is to glue or not to glue the center panel. This tends to be very black and white when it comes to the world of cabinetry. I don't personally like the word never, so for the ones that would say never glue your panels, here's my take. If you are using solid wood panels like a raised panel door, for instance, I wouldn't glue that in because yes, the wood will shift and it will crack your doors. But if you're using 1/4 inch plywood panels like these right here with an MDF core and you want to caulk in the panels, I would definitely glue those in. In all the doors that I've made using this material in particular, I've never seen one crack due to gluing it in. But this is just one humble man's opinion, so do what you feel comfortable with. For the last part of today's video, I want to go over sanding. Right here, I'm connecting my orbital sander to my shop vac with a rubber coupling and a couple of hose clamps. This cuts down on the dust tremendously, so if you've never done this, find a way to make it work. With most projects, I like to start out with some 80 grit on my orbital sander. The main purpose here is to try to get all of our joints flat and get the bulk of the sanding done. Once you get to the point where you run your hand across the joint and can no longer feel it, you're ready to move on. After you're done with the 80 grit, we're going to move on to 120. The main purpose here is to get rid of any scarring that maybe the 80 grit had left and any other imperfections in the wood. After you've sanded the entire door with 120, you're going to want to go to 180 or 220 grit. I opted for 220 and I'm going to sand the entire door, edges included. The goal here is to just get rid of any sharpness on the edges or any splinters that may be hanging off. All right, so as I'm wrapping things up today, I just want to give a big thanks to everyone that's still watching the video. I hope y'all got something from this and that I was able to help y'all out. If you do have any questions or things were unclear, leave some comments below. I'd love to help y'all out. Part 3 will be next, where I hope to go over all the painting and give y'all some tips and tricks there and the install.